Hello everyone, this is Christian Maldexton Interactive, and in this video we are going to focus on a few changes for our securities view page and then security details. So on the security views, what we'll do is unify how we handle creating the list view. So all of our list view items, the on-click, we'll create using the factory. We'll also add in the ability to add a on-click create method, so that we can see in the screen here that if we have if we specify the create method, we'll get a little entry in our list with this create that you can click on, of course, create an item. And then once we're done with that, we'll go over to our list details and we'll set it up so that we can actually use the getters from our store to get the appropriate items based on whichever one is clicked on. In addition to that, we'll make a small change to that page so that even if you start off with a refreshing, we'll add a route that pushes us back to the securities page so that we always have our back button shown. Those are the things that we'll focus on in this video. So I do want to say thank you for watching the video and subscribing. And if you're not a subscriber, I hope that you will consider subscribing to the channel. And with that said, let's go ahead and get started here. So we're going to start off by going to the list view here. So right now we have the ability to show items that are already in existence, and we'll click on them and then show the details. We do need a way to add new items, and I decided to add that to the list view. So what we're going to do is come up here and add a new prop. So add prop, we'll have a private read only. So I called it on click create. And it takes in nothing, and it's a void return. So what we'll do is we'll come up here in our LI here, or the UL, and add another LI. And from there, we're going to steal. We'll copy and paste our anchor tag up here. No, didn't ask for you. So we have our new anchor tag. We're also going to give it a create CSS class to it. And now this will be on click create. Doesn't take in anything. And the content of it, simple enough, some text, we'll just say create, and we're going to change the style. And actually I need to modify one thing. So and pound 43, so a plus sign. It's not exactly what I wanted to do. Let me cut that out real quick, and we'll put in our parentheses here, and inside here we'll say on click create. So if we do specify on click create, then we will render this stuff. Let's go ahead and save that. And of course, might as well be on the detail or securities. We won't see anything because we haven't defined those, but we'll come into the securities file. Actually, jump the gun a little bit. We need to create. So what I'm doing right now is I have this enum on here, this markets, segments, territories, types enum. I'm going to need a way to tell, so when we click on, say, a security, we're going to go to the security details page. We have to tell it, that page, what we clicked on, whether it was a segment, a security category. So we might as well have enum outside of here. So what we'll do is in the views folder, create a new file, types.ts. And what I'll say is export enum securities, I guess descriptors, I think. Securities descriptor, nope, security singular. Security descriptor, this way we'll be able to use this, maybe we want to have another enum or export something else for other views. And so we'll need at least these. All right. But we also are going to want the categories I'm going to put none and securities. I think that's all that we need there, so we'll save that, close it, come back to our securities view, and we are going to delete this. But we'll say import from, okay, I need to fix that still. From, and where are we at? Views, and we have types. And that was security descriptors. All right, so we've got those imported in. Of course, we've killed everything that we had there previously, so let's change these. No. We're going to add in the two, so private read only descriptor categories dot categories, and we also want private read only securities. The reason I want those is because I do want to unify how we're doing this. So if we look on the list view, right now we have the on-click for security and category separate, and then we're using that factory to give us the on-click method. We're going to, like I said, unify this. So we do not need on-click category or on-click security. And in fact, we're going to get rid of this and just do what we need to inside of our the factory here. So we're going to actually call it on-click factory now. We're going to allow what's coming in here is a security model or security category model or a descriptor. And to start off with, I think we'll just console log. So let me grab this. So we'll just console log. This should be a security descriptor, so the enum. All right, so we've adjusted the on-click factory, but while we're at it, we're going to add a private on-click create factory. Takes in the same sort of parameter, which descriptors. But as we mentioned, what we're going to do is have a function that takes in 0 parameters. And so we'll also console log this thing as well. Come on, mouse. Console log that, and so we'll just give the string representation of whichever one is passed in. So we do have to update our template now. So as an example here for securities, on click now just becomes we're going to the factory looking for the securities. Same deal for creating. And we need securities, undo all that. We're going to need to do both of them for the other 3 because we changed the name of the on-click creating or factory method. So that takes care of the markets. This one does the segments. 2 more. So we have the territories. And last but not least, the types. So now if we save that, we'll see that, I don't know how easy it is to see that over there, but we have the create button show up. So now that we can see it, let's come back to the list view, do a little styling to it. So if you are this content and you have a create class on you, we'll say the background color is already defined a green color. We'll say your foreground or color is white. And let's say font weight 600. Just, maybe we'll change in the future, but and if you hover over this, we will say background color should darken the green by 10%. So we save those and we have now our create buttons show up, or as highlighted styled. So if I click on that, I get securities, categories, markets. Those seem to be working. If I click on an actual item, we will get the sort of enum value and the ID for it. Same deal for the market, categories. I think everything seems to be working correctly. So what we'll do is go back to our securities view here and do some importing. So what we'll need is to import inject, and I think we'll do it right here. Import some stuff from / components routing. So the some stuff is we need the I route, we need routes, and the routing service. What else do we need? I think that's it for the moment. So we come down here and we'll say that we are going to inject. So I guess you'll go there at inject private read-only routing service. So we get our routing service. And the reason we do that is we come down here. So let's go factory first here. So this dot routing service dot navigate to where routes dot security details, and now the whole reason we dealt with query parameters. So now we can come in here and say that the query is this object. This object has an ID property on it. I guess we should tell it, we could bring in the iQuery interface here, but for now, we'll leave it alone. We need a string, or we're expecting these all to be strings. So what we'll do is, what did I say? We'll just interpolate on descriptor.id. We do our which, and the which we'll just interpolate on which. All right, so that takes care of the on clicking. Now, if you on click create, we're going to send in 0 for the ID, for my T there. So now if we save that, cross our fingers and refresh for good measure. I click here, I go to security details, and remember in the last video we were just console logging things, so we've got the object that came in was an ID, a string 1, which string 3, and we still, we converted the number to, or the ID to number 1 and still have string 3, which we'll take care of that shortly. Actually, I guess we'll start dealing with something related to it. So in the security details file, sort of an aside that I want to do is inside of the routing, I'm going to bring in the routes enum. The reason I'm going to do that is because if we need some more importing, but if you come to the, if you're on the security details and you refresh, of course the history is 0 or is empty, route history, and I want to have the little back button. I want it to always be shown and then pointing to the securities page. You just click on that, even if, like I said, you refreshed. But so I imported the routes, but I also need to do some other importing. So we'll say import from, and this is at the store. We're going to import a few things. So we have an action push route, and we need action function, route state, push route payload, state routes, and state decorator. So we use all of that because we want at action, and which action? Well, the action push route private push route. That's an action function which takes in the push route payload, and we need the state, so that's state, and that's the state routes, private read-only route state. And now inside of mounted, what we'll do is just say that if this dot route state dot history dot length, so if that's equal to 0, or this dot route state dot history, the top one, if the ID is not equal to routes dot and securities, we need to do something. So this dot push route, this dot routing service dot create route that we created last time, I think, routes dot securities. So now when we refresh, we get our back button, which points back to securities here. So if I refresh to clear my console, say I'm in the markets, I click on this one, we go over to the security details with a different ID and a different which. So now we start dealing with that stuff. These I'm not going to type since there's so many of them. We'll just bring them down here. So we have the constants for the getters for all of the singular ones, so security, category, market, segment, of course. We will need the plural ones here eventually. So, if we're modifying a security, we're going to have a select that shows all of the possible categories so we can choose from them. But we'll deal with those later. Then we get our getter decorator and the sort of types for all of the functions, the getter functions themselves, so taking in an ID and giving you back the appropriate model. So we also need to import from our views/types, and that's our enum, security descriptors. And we'll cheat again. No fun in typing all of these or watching me type them. So we have the getter decorator. We ask for the getter for security category. And of course, give it a name, and the type is, the appropriate type for whichever getter it is. So we have them all set for each of them, the market, security, segments, and all that. And why security, I guess alphabetically should be up there, maybe. No, I guess alphabetical on the name, not the constant. And if we look down, of course, we were doing the whole, we have our ID, log in the ID. Let's just go ahead and say that we have a private ID, which is equal to 0, and a private which is equal to security descriptors.none to start with. So we're in a position now to say this dot, and this one goes to this dot. This is coming in as a string. I do want to parse int. That'll bring us to a integer. All right, I did cast it, but I think that's enough, right? Since it's the underlying type for an enum is just a number. All right, so now we'll get rid of our console log statements. We'll say if this dot, what did I say, ID, if that's less than or equal to 0, then we'll just stop there. Otherwise, we're going to say this dot load, which is a method we need to create. So private load. Perfect. And what we'll do is do a switch. So switch. And we'll switch on this dot which. It's not very interesting to watch me type in the cases and such, so let's just bring them in. So we have just each of the cases, right? Security descriptors categories. What we do is use the appropriate getter function, pass in the ID, and what we're going to do is just log the name of the constructor. That way we can see which one we're on. Let's go ahead and save that. And I was going to remove this console log statement. So let's just clear everything up. So we're apparently on the market when we came over here. So if we're on a security model, category, model, So everything is working. If we get to create, we go over, but don't do anything. So we have our return statement. So I think that will take care of it for this video. Of course, in the next one, we will continue on. Oop, now we're getting an error here. To type string. Why? Guess that was the reason why in the notes that I went ahead and put the security descriptors there. So we'll just ignore that, pretend like we saw that to start with. And like I said, that'll take care of it for this video. We'll continue on with the security details in the next video. And I'll get to the point where we're at the point where we can start displaying some information for the user to click on and modify. Like I said, we'll take care of all that later. Until then, I will talk to you later. Thank you for taking the time to watch our video. I know that your time is valuable. If you liked the video, please subscribe to our channel and click the thumbs up button, as well as share the video with your friends. If you have any comments, questions, or suggestions, please leave them in the comments section below. And once again, thank you, and I will talk to you in the next video.